Manchester City's and they go 1-0, 2-0 down early, they might not be able to recover.
And maybe that's why they were 0-0 draws, because they're nervous about that.
Exactly. So, but no, the way they're going at the minute, I mean, he's getting a tune out of Pogba. I mean, fair play to Pogba again. People were questioning him when his agents came out and said the comments. Since then, he's been brilliant. He's stepped up. He's taken a lot of the pressure and onus off Bruno Fernandes, who was obviously their main man. So you have to take them seriously. There's still a lot of people out there that are saying consistency, no, I don't think they'll be there or thereabouts, but they're there on merit. They're playing as well as anyone. They're scoring goals. They've got top players coming back to their very, very best. And as Wright said earlier, defensively at one stage, they were all over the place. But now with Baye coming back, Maguire, the former Luke Shaw, Wan-Bissaka, they seem to have got something clicking now. And I still think in the middle of the park, it's what combination do you go with? Do you go with Fred, McTominay? But it's always got to be Pogba and Fernandes. They are the main two. They're the ones that make the team tick. And as I said, the way they're playing at the minute, you went back against them going all the way and certainly getting close to winning the Premier League title.
And they're doing so well away from home as well. That's a club record, 17 games without being beaten away from home. And it seems extraordinary that it's happening at the moment when you think of the great Manchester United teams.
Yeah, it's their best run since the 1998-99 season. 366 days undefeated away from home. I think Darren used a key word. They've clicked. I don't think there is a secret as such. I think they've just clicked because they had that period where they had conceded the first goal in 7 out of 9 games. They had a period where this guy in the frame here, everyone was talking about whether or not he was the right man for the club. Now they're at the top. One thing I would say is that last weekend's game against Liverpool presented a debate that is still going on now. Real champions, they smell the weakness in the opponents and they go for the jugular. And midway through that second half, a Man United team with those potential match winners should have smelled that a Liverpool side whose front three hadn't scored for 3 games, 2.5 by then, with midfielders at centre half and with a midfield triumvirate that weren't playing as well as they could do.
But Darren, don't you think with the 2 chances and who those 2 chances fell to in Fernandes and Pogba, they take them 2 chances, which for me, for the calibre of players that had them, then all of a sudden you're starting to say they did see the weakness, but those players in that moment didn't take the chance. And Man United haven't beaten, I don't think, anybody in the top end of the league. Do you understand what I'm saying?
That's exactly the point I was about to make.
The conversation could be changed, you see, with United.
But to give them their due, because, I mean, listen, I've been on here, I've given them stick before, so I want to give them credit. There is a stat that really does back up their improvement. They've come from behind. They've picked up 21 points from losing positions this season. That's 11 more than any other team in the Premier League. That says that they have... There you go. Thank you.
Like magic.
Mm.
And that says that they've got that desire and that hunger and that character that marks down potential champions.
Well, that's old United, isn't it? That's old United, never beaten, you know.
I mean, there is that, but there's also the question of them going behind in the first place and the fact that it does take them a bit longer to get going at times in games. But just when you think, and I know you're talking about the defensive kind of performances and that gives them that solid base, but the pace up front that they have now is just so much more exciting to watch. At times it's been a little bit ponderous, but once you get the speed of it up and you bring someone like Cavani in with all his experience,
and
it makes a difference.
And his movement, Kels. It's like you say, me and Darren was saying about it, probably like the Darrens. You know,
you did. You looked, you went, I just called him Darren, and I'm calling him
Darren as well. You know, but like
Spider-Man.
I was just thinking as well. But when you look at that calibre of player with those players around him and the creativity of Pogba and Fernandes, you do feel like, you know, Man United do need to find a way of finding that calibre of player in there. And when you look, I think it's from 2019 season to in the 2020s, they scored like 72 goals, but like 10 of them have come from the right-hand side. Now, you know there's great movement from Cavani in that, but then you start to think, OK, I'll see why the link maybe with Jadon Sancho, because if they can get the right-hand side working as well as the left, because of that pace, but Martial prefers to come in off the left, Rashford comes in off the left, even Pogba, in his favourite position, he's in and around the left-hand side. If they can balance up the right-hand side, and, you know, because 10 goals out of 70 is not enough from that, then all of a sudden, Man United's got a balance of creativity with the Greenwoods and everything, which will probably end up in the middle. Then we're talking about a real problem for teams.
Yeah, we talked about the importance of the big name players. Pogba's on really good form at the moment. Bruno Fernandes has been on good form, bar maybe 1 or 2 games at most. But Cavani is the player I want to ask you specifically about, and what he brings to Manchester United that they've missed in the past.
It's the way that he can sniff out the chance, like he sniffed out in the game against Fulham. The goals he scored against Southampton. Darren was talking. Footballer Darren was talking about the goals he scored against Southampton and his movement, and the fact that if you are going to get balls into Man United's box, he will be then scoring a goal like he scored against Fulham, which you look at the United players without him playing, you probably don't score, because you look at where he goes and you look at where he stays and where he hangs about. You know, he's not rushed. Look where he is. He's just going to stay in and around it. You know, I have to say Fred was brilliant there. You know, Fred kept this going. And then, like I say with Bruno Fernandes, that little player, and then look where he is. Look, that is like people say, well, how come it's falling to him? Why didn't it fall to him? Because of his experience, and he knows what's going to happen. Of course, you look at the goalkeeper and say, what are you doing? But then a striker like that, Darren, you have to say, he feels in his head like we have to do is gamble and say, well, he may do that. And that's the whole difference.
It's like a centre forward like that, he's already thinking two moves ahead. So he's already thinking, right, if he crosses it there and someone parries it, I need to be in the right position to tap the rebound in. And I don't think they've got that. Well, they haven't got that at the club. Martial doesn't do it. Rashford, he's got all these qualities, he doesn't do it. Greenwood a little bit, but he's only young. But it's one of them where, as Wright said there, you kind of sniff danger, or there might be a chance here. And sometimes it might be the most outrageous thing that you think in your mind, like, well, it's going to ricochet off that post. It may be the goalkeeper in the back and then fall here. But you're right, there's no accident at all that he's the one in that position. And the Southampton one was probably even better than this one, because it was basically someone who mishit a shot. It took a deflection, and everyone, I think there's all 11 Southampton players are in the box, and he's got 10 yards of space. And you think, well, how is that even possible? It's because they've not seen what's going to happen next. But he's already thinking, well, if he mishits this shot, I've got a chance of scoring a goal here. And it's no secret why he's been one of the best in Europe.
And that's the thing, is about staying within when the ball's being shot. It's one of the things I used to always try and make sure you stay in where the goal, because the goalkeeper's in the goal. So you go in and around where the width of the post. The ball's going to come in and around that place, because that's what we're trying to score goals. The goal he scored against Southampton, he actually found himself outside the width of the post. And then when he's just about to shoot, if you watch the goal, he's the only one moving towards it. And it goes exactly where he moves to. That's not luck. And that is what Man United have now. And like I say, if you had something like him 10 years ago, like they've always had that striker, Andy Cole, you know, Ruud van Nistelrooy. They've always had the striker that when it's not quite going well for him, like they start the games slowly, they may get a chance in the first 5 minutes. A player of that calibre takes the chance, and then all of a sudden Man United can relax and ease into the game.
Do you know, it's one of the things as well, that because Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was brilliant in it as well, kind of anticipating what's going to happen next. But unfortunately, it's something I think you can't teach that. Like, I can tell a young centre forward, this is where you should be if this happens. But to be that advanced like a Cavani is, to think these things, is so difficult. And that's why when he gets these goals, I mean, I think this is the one here. I mean, that's just a great bit of movement where he gets across the front stick.
That was fantastic.
It's his first one where it's like a shank shot, and all of a sudden, you think, well, hold on a second here, how has he managed to get that amount of space? But it's because he's already thinking, well, listen, 9 times out of 10, it doesn't happen. But the one time that he's in there, he gets the goal from him.
And like you say, there is an instinct there that can't be taught, but also it's kind of, it's drilled into with experience as well. So it just doubles down on the instinct that's already there. Plus he's been in that situation countless times before, and he knows which way it can go.
Yeah, this is the one
you were talking
right?
about.
So watch where Cavani is now. Watch when he's hit it. Look who's moving. Only person moving. And like, you see what, as you get older as well, what happens is that you want to save as much energy done with that. You know, he knows that if you move like that in the box, there's a good chance that, okay, it could deflect and go that way. But if I go in there because I know that this is where the goal is, and I go towards where the goal is, I might be able to get a flick on or something. You know what I mean, dude?
When I watch him, he strikes me as an old school predator. You know, like a Shearer, like you both of you. I mean, I think he's a sort of guy who, forwards now, they can play off the left or, you know, off the right or whatever, but he wants to stay in the box, in the 18-yard box or in the 6-yard box. He is somebody, like you say, who wants to conserve energy. So he's waiting for everyone else to switch off so that he can switch on. It's very easy to say, well, it's only Fulham or it's only Southampton. Liverpool lost to Southampton. Liverpool drew with Fulham. Chelsea struggled to beat Fulham. There are so many of the other teams that have come up against these teams and struggled to break them down. But he's proved the difference.
Do you know what as well?
which is quite
That
impressive.
goal against Southampton as well. What makes it extra special as well is that the Southampton players don't even look. So some of them put their hands up and wait for offside. But because his movement is anticipated that much, that's how you get your tap-ins. Freebies.
And I think that's not something. The fact that you've both picked that goal out, I think it's not something that just an observer of football would notice. That's a striker seeing the thinking behind it.
Because
like
Vardy
Darren said-
does it, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Vardy at Leicester does it.
Yeah.
He is very, very good at waiting for opposition defenders to switch off and stealing into the space and being able to convert
It's what
those
they
goals.
always say as a striker. And you go 9 times. The 10th time you don't go, that happens. You score. Those are the ones that when you finish playing, you score those nice goals where you might go through and finish, and people say, "Oh, he's so clinical." But those are the ones as a striker that defenders can't really deal with you in that respect, because that's up to you gambling. And those are the ones I got a lot of joy out of, simply because you know with your striking a bit, look at him, only one moving. You know with your striking a bit and your experience that you are going to nick a goal. So they think to themselves, even if he's not playing well, he'll nick a goal like that, and what we can't do anything about. And that is the difference between the top.
It's funny because fans always say, we only scores tap-ins. That's always the phrase, he only scores
He only
tap-ins.
scores tap-ins.
You get points for artistic merit.
Because that's the place. What people have to
Not
understand.
basketball. You don't give a fuck.
That's the place. That's the most, for me, the most important place on the pitch, in the penalty area.
box,
That's where, if you can find space in there and continue to score, that's
See,
where
I
you're
always
earning money.
liked Ruud van Nistelrooy because he scored those scruffy goals. He was in around the 6-yard box, and people perhaps didn't give him as much credit as he deserved. But he was very good at smelling those moments when opposition players would switch off. Maybe they'd given him too much space, and he was able to just find that area where he could stick his boot in and convert for the goals that often proved decisive in tight matches. And I think that type of striker, if you look around the other top 6 teams, well, suddenly Chelsea aren't scoring goals like that, because I don't think they've got that. They've got players who are versatile, but Tammy's probably the closest. Tammy Abraham is probably the closest. I'm not sure they know how to play Werner. If you look at the other teams in that top 6, Aguero's not playing, but I suppose City are different because they've got those mercurial players and they've got that wonderful defence. But Vardy is doing it for Leicester, and of course Cavani is doing it for Manchester United, and that's when you see those 3 teams at the top of the Premier League now.
It's like photography, isn't it? Anyone can click the button on the camera, but you've got to see the picture in the first place.
See the picture, man.
In terms of sort of conserving your energy, Cavani's started last night, but he's not starting regularly for Manchester United. Is that the best use of him, do you think?
Well, it doesn't seem to be bothering him. And again, it comes down to experience, knowing that, I can come on and make a difference, because I know that there's going to be chances made and the ball's going to be in and around the box. So it's one of those situations, Kels, if he was playing and there's not chances being made, if he wasn't playing and chances weren't being made, I don't know if he'd be as happy. But, coming off the bench knowing that I could play for 20 minutes and get my goal, it's better than playing for 90 minutes and getting the goal, you'll probably take that. You'll probably take that.
I like the way you think.
That's how I started to think
I'd rather play
towards
for
the end.
20 minutes and get a goal than 90 minutes and
Absolutely,
get a goal.
yeah. Less energy
No, I
used.
might get 3.
No, but the thing is, there's so many times where I've played games where it's like it's been raining and and you're winning comfortably. I've scored 2 goals, and I said it wouldn't bother me if they took me off now.
Do you know, I don't want to tell tales out of school. When you went in last week, Lee Dixon was in, and he was you were, as you've both been saying about staying in that area just in front of the goal. And he was in. His take on it was, Wright, he just didn't like to run.
I was always moaning in the training session. How much further is this an athletics club or football club?
But in terms of Cavani, look, there's a genuine point at the heart of that, which is that as you get older, you do want to use your skills in a much more sort of concentrated way. You don't want to be running around the pitch and being exhausted and not being ready for the next match.
Well, I can remember when I played with Gerard Houllier, and one of my very first sessions, I ran wide into the channel to give the fullback an option, and he stopped the whole training session and he said to me, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, Gaffer, I've looked at Luke Young. He's like, his eyes are pierced at me. Run down the channel." So I've run out there. And he said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Oh, just give him an angle." "Well, no. I didn't buy you to come to Aston Villa to run out there. Stay within the width for the 6-yard box. That's where you're going to get your goals from." And obviously I never ran another channel.
Got the same thing.
Gerard said so.